Call this island Saint Helena, my final prison. They believe they have captured me, contained me, buried me alive in this suffocating rock, in the middle of a vast, indifferent ocean. They mistake the cage for the bird. My body is a prisoner, yes, but my mind? My mind is still Paris. My mind is still Austerlitz. My mind is still Cairo. My mind is still Rome. I, Napoleon Bonaparte, and the ghost that haunts every throne in Europe. You have come here seeking a legend, the myth forged in the heat of battle. You will not find it. You will find something far more dangerous. The truth. You will hear the confession of the man who dared to rewrite destiny. The man who was consumed by the fire he himself ignited. You think you know the price of power? You know nothing. You know only the version of me that history allowed you to see. They speak of my victories, Austerlitz, Jena, Marengo. They count the cities I claimed, the kingdoms I dissolved. But they never count the losses, never count the cost. My ambition was paid for in blood, yes, but not just the blood of my enemies, the blood of 2 million Frenchmen. 2 million sons I sent to reshape a continent. Tell me, how many lives are worth a single crown? The world saw a man obsessed with conquest, a small Corsican obsessed with overcoming his height. They were fools. My height was never a limitation. My will was the only measure that mattered. I did not conquer Europe because I hated kings. I conquered Europe because I was the only man capable of seeing what the continent could be. I was the surgeon tasked with rebuilding a decaying world. My greatest crime, they say, was my insatiable hunger for war. They are wrong. My greatest crime was my capacity for hope. I hoped to unify Europe under a single enlightened code. I hoped to end the tyranny of birthright and replace it with the tyranny of merit, my tyranny. But ambition, when it reaches a certain scale, is a fever, and it blinds you. I should have stopped in Tilsit. I should have listened to reason. I should have trusted fewer men. But what you are about to hear is not a tale of a general. It is the story of a traitor. I betrayed the Republic, yes, but first I betrayed myself. And my life, my entire impossible story, began with a single burning feeling: humiliation on an island named Corsica. I was a nobody, a loud, scrawny, awkward child from a minor noble family on a tiny, resentful island. I spoke French with an accent they ridiculed. At the military academy, I was the outcast, the dark, brooding Corsican who read Plutarch, while the other boys talked about horses and women. I was forced to be self-reliant. I had no friends, only books. And in those books, in the lives of Caesar, of Hannibal, of Alexander, I found my true family. They showed me that the world respects one thing and one thing only: results. I learned that day the world will laugh at your origins, but it will kneel before your achievements. My chance came during the chaos of the revolution. The siege of Toulon, a miserable, desperate affair. Generals were drunk or incompetent. I was nothing but a young artillery officer, ignored, dismissed. But I saw what no one else did: the perfect geographical key to the battle, a forgotten hill. I didn't ask for permission. I demanded guns. I put my life on the line and led the charge. The moment that fortress fell, I understood the true mechanism of history. It is not governed by parliaments or kings. It is governed by the will of a single man who refuses to lose. The young Bonaparte was gone. The general was born. Paris was chaos, a city eating its own children. In 1795, the Royalists tried to end the madness. They attacked the convention. The politicians were paralyzed by fear. I was not. I had cannons. My order was simple: fire grape shot. It was cold, brutal, necessary. I cleared the streets, saved the government, and earned a new name: the Savior of the Republic. It was a lie. I did not save the Republic. I saved myself. I showed them that I was the only one with the necessary lack of conscience to lead. And then came Josephine, my beautiful, complicated disaster. She was older, sophisticated, connected, and completely impossible to trust. She was everything I was not: Parisian elegance, charm, and deceit. My love for her was a weakness, a desperate attempt to connect my lonely Corsican soul to the heart of France. I married her not just out of passion, but out of calculation. She gave me access. She gave me standing. I gave her the world. But my passion for her was a dangerous anomaly. It was the only time in my life I lost control. And the moment a ruler loses control, he risks everything. I was given the army of Italy, a starving, ragged mob, forgotten by Paris. The politicians wanted me out of the way. I gave them a legend. I moved faster than anyone believed possible. I fought generals twice my age and shattered their armies. I did not just win battles. I won hearts. I spoke to the soldiers in their language, offering them glory and plunder. I took a starving army and made it an instrument of terror and destiny. This campaign proved that war is not about numbers. It is about speed and spirit. I went to Egypt searching for the ghosts of Alexander. I dreamed of conquering the East, of becoming a pharaoh. It was magnificent. The pyramids, the heat, the ancient power. But it was a military disaster. My fleet was annihilated by Nelson. My army was trapped and consumed by the desert. I realized then that destiny is not a gift. It is a negotiation. I abandoned my army and escaped back to Paris. Why? Because I knew the French people did not need their army. They needed their savior. My return was a masterpiece of propaganda. The papers celebrated my return while ignoring the thousands I left behind. The Republic was weak, corrupt, dying. Everyone knew it needed an autopsy, but no one dared pick up the scalpel. I did. The coup was clumsy, bloody, an amateur performance. I burst into the council, stammering and fainting, but the idea of Napoleon, the strong man, was enough. I seized the title of First Consul. I did not conquer France by cannon fire. I conquered it by vacuum. I stepped into the void of power, and the moment I became the head of state, I began my greatest work, the Civil Code. My true empire was built not on blood, but on law. The French people wanted stability. They wanted a crown. So I gave it to them. The coronation in Notre Dame. The Pope was there, a theatrical prop for my ambition, but I did not allow him to touch me. I took the crown from the altar and placed it on my own head. This was not a ceremony of the church. It was a declaration of self-creation. I was not emperor by divine right. I was emperor by my own will. I told the world, I am the source of all authority. That was the most arrogant, most dangerous decision of my life. Austerlitz, my masterpiece. 3 emperors on the field. I was outnumbered, facing the combined might of Russia and Austria. It was cold, foggy, the perfect stage for deception. I feigned weakness. I lured them onto the frozen lakes. And then, I broke their center with a lightning strike. It was not a battle. It was an execution. When the defeated armies scattered and the emperors sued for peace, I understood what it was to feel like a god. It was terrifying. It was addicting. It gave me the illusion that I could never lose. I had everything, but I had no sun. An empire without an heir is a ship without a rudder. Josephine could not give me one. The emperor needed stability. The man needed love. The divorce was necessary. Cold, devastating. I sacrificed the only woman I truly loved. The one person who knew the man behind the crown, for a political alliance with an Austrian princess. That night, when I told Josephine, I understood the final price of the throne. It demands loneliness. I gained an Austrian princess and an heir, but I lost my last human connection. I tried to bring England to its knees not with ships, but with customs forms. The continental system, my biggest mistake. An act of economic suicide. I forced Europe to starve itself, driving my allies into the arms of my enemies. I learned that you can conquer armies, but you cannot conquer trade. You cannot conquer the sea. You cannot conquer the hunger for cotton and sugar. The ultimate miscalculation. I was pulled into the Russian abyss not by ambition, but by arrogance. I believed my will could defeat distance, weather, and a country that simply refused to fight me. The march to Moscow was a triumph, turned into a funeral procession. The Borodino, a Pyrrhic victory. The sight of Moscow burning, a city of ghosts, was my first true defeat. It was not a defeat by an army, but a defeat by nature. The Grande Armée, the finest fighting force in history, died not by muskets, but by the cold, silent indifference of the Russian winter. I returned to Paris having lost everything but the uniform on my back. Europe smelled blood. Leipzig. My enemies finally learned how to fight me by refusing to engage me directly and chasing my marshals instead. I was overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The betrayal was universal. My marshals, my politicians, even my own family, they abandoned me. The world wanted the monster gone. I abdicated. Elba was a joke, a tiny, absurd kingdom. But I learned a crucial lesson. You cannot kill an idea. The idea of Napoleon was still alive in every French heart. My return was the greatest military act in history. No shots fired. I walked back to Paris. and the army sent to stop me wept and joined me. It proved my point. I was the choice of the people. But the world would not allow a second chance. They gathered at Waterloo. I was tired, sick, trusting the wrong men. My final battle was a masterpiece of bad luck, indecision, and fog.
The arrival of the Prussians under Blucher was the hand of God intervening.
I lost not because I was outfought, but because my destiny finally broke. And now, this rock. 5 years I have spent dictating my history, turning my defeat into a philosophical victory. They think they erased me, but every piece of law, every modern military academy, every nation-state in Europe carries my signature. I failed to rule the world, but I changed it. My body may be rotting on this forgotten island, poisoned by my own gods. But my code is the foundation of modernity. The question I leave you, the man or woman watching this confession, is simple. You have seen the price of ambition. You have seen the heights of power. What will you do with the lessons I bled to give you? Will you use the power you have been given? Or will you let it be taken by others? Remember me. Remember the man who told destiny, no. Thank you for watching. If you liked this format, please subscribe and like the video. It helps us know what you want to see more of. See you soon, friends.